All right, Tigers tie a spring training game, believe it or not. And then they also lose one in a split squad day on Thursday. We're going to take a look at the observations from those two games. And then we're going to finish up by taking a look at the biggest question marks remaining as we head into the final weekend of spring training for this opening day roster. All today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Friday, March 24th, 2023. Thank you for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook, an official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. Every word is very important in there. All righty. Welcome back, everybody. We have a show for you today. We are going to discuss quite a lot. We're going to go over both spring training games that took place on Thursday, and then we're going to end the show by discussing just the key positional battles as we head into the final weekend. We have 3 spring training games left, people. 3. And that is very, very exciting because that means opening day is right around the corner. A week from today, we will be literally a week from this episode, a week from today, we will be talking about a game recap of opening day. And that's awesome. But that's also super anxiety inducing for a lot of players on this team, especially the ones that are all on the bubble, because a lot of decisions are going to have to be made at the time of this recording, which is Thursday night. The Tigers, still have 15 players they have to trim down to get to a 26-man roster. And with that comes a lot of very difficult decisions. So let's get into the 2 spring training games. We'll talk about the observations from that, and then it'll kind of naturally just transition us into the conversation about what the most important, I guess, conversations are heading into the final weekend. I would expect by the time you are listening to this, well, some of you are crazy and listen to this right when it drops at midnight, and I could not be more appreciative of y'all. So shout out to the night team there, the night squad. But I would imagine if you're listening to this like at lunch or on your way home from work or something, by the afternoon, you will likely have a roster move. I would imagine Friday is going to be some sort, whether it's just a couple of guys or they knock down like 10 dudes or something like that. I would imagine Friday we would see some sort of roster move. If not, certainly by Sunday and by the time we talk next on Monday, a roster moves will have been made because we don't play spring training games on Monday or Tuesday. Okay. So let's get into these. Games. Okay. Let's start with the Baltimore game. This was an 8-8 tie. Yes, it's a tie because spring training, no one cares about wins and losses in spring. So they just go, screw it, whatever. We're not going to play extra innings in a spring training game. Let's just start off hot here. Okay. Right off bat, okay, Kerry Carpenter 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Akil Baddoo 1 for 4 with a home run. Okay, boom. I think Akil Baddoo had 1 strikeout. I think he was 1 for 4 with 1 K and a homer, and Kerry Carpenter was 1 for 4 with 2 Ks and a single. I'm pretty sure that's accurate information I'm relaying to you. That's one of the biggest conversations. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. That is obviously we talk about it pretty much every day. We don't need to spend too much time on it right now, but that is undeniably one of the biggest conversation points heading into the weekend. Spencer Torkelson 1 for 4, but with 3 strikeouts. Nick Maton hit another homer. I think Nick Maton is going to be your opening day third baseman. I really do. Now, something to keep an eye out. Matt Vierling has actually been playing a little bit of third base since coming back from injury, and Nick Maton has been getting a look in left field, and I really like that a lot. I do think that Maton was brought in to try and play a lot of different positions and see what works out for him. I don't think that he was brought in and they're just going to go, you know what? This dude has to be the third baseman. He's only going to play third base. And Matt Vierling is too athletic, I think, to really pin down to one position anyway. I think that they really like the idea of moving him all over the field. So I fully expect Matt Vierling to get legitimate looks at third base in the regular season. And I also fully expect Nick Maton to get legitimate looks in left field in the regular season. And I'm pro both of those things. I'm not against those decisions at all. So something to keep an eye out there for sure. Jonathan Scope with a hit in this game. We'll take it. We will gladly take it. I know. It's been a frustrating calendar year at this point for Scopey, unfortunately. But if we can just get a little bit of offensive production out of him to start off the season, and then we'll figure out what to do with him and his roster spot from there, I think that would make everybody a lot happier. So we'll see. But another hit in this one. That's a couple of games in a row now with a hit for Jonathan Scope, which is more than we've been able to say about a couple of games stretch for him in a very long time. What else in this one? Miguel Diaz pitched in this baseball game. I love Miguel Diaz. I think he is going to pitch. Ooh, where do I want to plant my flag here? I think Miguel Diaz pitches over 25 innings for the Detroit Tigers this year. He's not going to make the opening day roster. We already know that. But I think he's going to really impress down in Toledo, and they're going to have a pretty quick hook with some of the relievers at the major league level. Plus, like, injuries with pitchers just happen all the time. I'm going to plant my flag here on March 24th and say that Miguel Diaz over 25 innings pitched for the Detroit Tigers this year. Major league level, obviously. Yeah, the Detroit Tigers. Yeah, one and the same. So, but in this game, 1 1/3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts, no earned runs. Boom. His ERA has a chance. He might get one more appearance here over the weekend. He has a chance to end spring training with a 0 ERA. I think his changeup is really, really good. He's got some command stuff to work on for sure, but you can say that pretty much about 2/3, 3/4 of this bullpen, or anybody that's in the race for a bullpen spot. Even you can broaden it even out to that. So no different than a lot of other dudes in that regard. But I really like the tunnel combination thing he has with the fastball and changeup. I really like his change. He can do what if just as a crazy kind of ADHD moment here, but I promise it'll wrap back around and make sense. If you watch the World Baseball Classic finale, okay, championship, if you watch Japan versus USA, Japan's pitchers just consistently all game, it was low fastballs at the knees and splitters in the dirt. And they would just tunnel the two of them, and that's what it was all game long. Fastballs at the knees, splitter at the dirt. Fastballs at the knees, splitters in the dirt. And the USA hitters were just guessing the entire game. And it was either swings and misses or weak ground balls on the splitters or called strikes, looking strikes on the four-seam fastballs at the knees. And they had no idea what to do with it. And I'm not saying Miguel Diaz is going to, be able to show up and strike out Mike Trout and like all of this off rip or anything. But I do think that can be a really effective combination for him too, just because he does have such a really good fastball changeup combo there. So really like Miguel Diaz. And I think he's going to pitch quite a bit at the major league level this year, even though he won't start off the team at the major league level. Pitching wise in this game, I felt like they kind of wanted the Orioles game to be high scoring, and they kind of wanted the Phillies game to be low scoring. They sent all of the best pitchers to Philadelphia, or at least played all of the best pitchers against Philly. Well, just hear me out. They played better pitchers against Philadelphia and worse. I don't like using the word worse when describing athletes, but the backups, I guess, hitters against Philly, and then against Baltimore, it was like almost the opening day starting lineup, and then all of the pitchers that they've already decided were not going to be on the major league roster. Like Holton, Fry, Uceda, Whistler, Miguel Del Pozo, Higginbotham, like all of these pitchers that they've like foregone conclusion not going to be on the opening day roster. Those guys were all the dudes that pitched against Baltimore, and they pretty much, I think outside of Miguel Diaz and Jake Higginbotham, they all gave up runs, at least one, besides those two guys. So yeah, high scoring game. We'll talk about the Philly game. That's pretty much all there is offensively for this Orioles game. Riley Green had a hit. That's always nice to see, but not a whole lot of observations, honestly, on the offensive end. Kind of somewhat what we expect, but a lot to take out of this Phillies game, and that's what we're going to get into right after I tell y'all about our friends over at Ultimate Pro Baseball GM. Please download this app. It is the coolest thing ever. I absolutely love it. I totally nerd out on it. It is our new partner, the mobile game, Ultimate Baseball GM. If you've ever dreamed of becoming an MLB GM and managing your professional baseball franchise, your dream can come true, and this game is 100% for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the season, lead your team to glory. You're responsible for hiring the right coaching staff, managing team finances, scouting and drafting players, managing difficult personalities, navigating your franchise through free agency, and all the ups and downs of the season. All of this in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free and it's playable offline. You can play on the go as you want, whenever you want, and it is just kind of awesome. So, Locked On Tigers listeners also are getting a 100% free boost to their franchise when using promo code Locked On in the game store. So, make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up in the App Store. That's probaseballgm.com. It's the Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. Also got to tell y'all about our friends over at Game Time. I told you about them for the first time yesterday. We're going to talk about them again today. They absolutely rock. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. They have amazing deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for all of the fun you will have. It is truly the best in the business. I can't wait to use it all the time this summer when going down to Comerica Park because I like to procrastinate and make last minute decisions. It's really honestly a fault of mine, but thanks to the amazing people at Game Time, they accommodate my procrastination, and that's very nice of them. So forget planning months in advance. Game Time, they have deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. You can get images of your seats before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect right when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're all set, and they're sent directly to your phone. So you never have to dig through your email ever again. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem using the code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word and all caps, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. All right, everybody, welcome back. Second segment here, Locked On Tigers. Let's talk about this Philadelphia Phillies game, all right? Let's not dawdle. Let's go right into it. Joey Wentz started this game. I thought he was probably the story of the game. Maybe Garrett Hill. We'll get into him in a second. 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts for Joey Wentz. 2 of the runs came off of a Trey Turner home run. I think it was 2 of the runs. But at the very end of his outing there, Trey Turner took a cutter to honestly, the moon. But Trey Turner just got off of like one of the best solo WBC performances like we've literally ever seen. So I'm going to give Joey Wentz a little bit of the benefit of the doubt on that one. But look, the biggest story in this one for Joey Wentz was, in fact, the cutter. I know it ended on a sour note there, but it looked absolutely incredible. It had a 43% CSW percentage. We love CSW percentage here. Called strikes plus whiffs percentage. That's 43% of all cutters he threw were either called strikes or swing and miss strikes. That is beautiful. He also had 10 whiffs combined between the 4-seam fastball and the cutter. That's a great stat. Anytime you're getting whiffs on your 4-seam fastball, you are likely in for a great game. Joe Ryan used to do it all the time against the Tigers last year. He used to throw like 80% fastballs, and it just didn't matter. We talked about it a lot here. It really pissed me off. Anyway, though, Joey Wentz, great stuff. Looked really solid. I know 3 earned runs in 4 innings isn't exactly like, write home about it and scream from the rooftops about how great it is. But 5 strikeouts in 4 innings. I really do like his stuff a lot. It'll play. That cutter will absolutely play. And it's not something that he's always had, like confidently, especially. He came back from Tommy John and then last year in the minors, part of this amazing Tigers development system we've been talking about. That's really only been amazing over the last like 12 to 24 months. At least we've been talking about it in a positive light for only that long. For so long, the development system here was just so bad and lackluster. And to finally see like, hey, Joey Wentz, you just came off Tommy John. Let's have you, develop this cutter a little bit and see what happens. And all signs point to it being a pretty darn good pitch. And I'm very, very excited. We'll talk about him at the end of the show as well when we kind of do our wrap up, because there's a heck of a conversation surrounding Joey Wentz and surrounding Garrett Hill, who had 2 innings pitched, 1 hit, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Finally, a good outing for Garrett Hill. You absolutely love to see it. That's been honestly, I was scared. I was genuinely a little afraid that Garrett Hill was just going to implode in the second half of spring training and play his way off the roster. He still might have. We'll talk about that for sure. I love the stuff when he's a pure reliever. I really do. I'm a huge fan of Garrett Hill's stuff, but so listen to this. Okay, this is 12 and 2/3 innings pitched, 11 hits, not bad. 9 walks, bad. 4 hit by pitch, bad. 15 Ks, really good. You know what I mean? So like it's just been a really roller coaster of emotions. Like the velocity's way up than what we're used to. That's awesome. The sinker that he throws at 96, 97 is a beautiful pitch when it's located well. That's awesome. His secondary stuff goes up in velocity and gets a lot of weak contact. He had like 5 foul tips off his slider in 2 innings. Like there's a lot to like here, and I do think that he could become a really solid relief pitcher for this baseball team. But that's a lot of walks in the spring, and if I don't know, it might do him in. It really might. Like that 9 walks and 4 hit batsmen. That's 13 free passes in less than 13 innings pitched. Not good. Not good. So we'll see what happens. I think he is the definition. If you had to ask me which player is the most on the bubble, my answer would be Garrett Hill, I think. I think he's the definition of on the bubble right now. The bullpen is still so much in the air. He's a huge reason why it's so much in the air. I think with the spring kind of emergence of Winginter and Shreve, you have to carry both of them, I think. And realistically, I think then you're only carrying one of Wentz, Hill, Faedo, and Brisky. Faedo, that decision's already been made. So now you're stuck of kind of one between Wentz, Hill, and Brisky. But like we'll talk about it a little bit later too. Like Wentz, do you really want him to develop as a reliever at this point? You've kind of only been using him as a starter. I think they want to develop him as a starting pitcher. I don't think they want to put him in the bullpen. And I think they feel way more comfortable putting Garrett Hill or Beau Brisky in the bullpen because they've literally done it in the spring. They haven't done that really to Joey Wentz. I don't know. We'll see. Offensively in this game, Zach Short 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. Ryan Kreidler 0 for 3 with a walk. And he played center field, something to keep an eye on. Short and Kreidler very much in the same race together for this opening day roster spot. Austin Meadows with a hit and a walk in this one. It was a hard hit ball, but it was still on the ground. The batting average at this point isn't awful. Like it's in like the 250s, I think, on the spring, and the OBP isn't bad paired with it either. It's a small sample size. I'm not expecting him to have a boatload of walks or anything, but everything is relatively okay, except the slugging percentage is just awful. Like it's still just brutal. And it has been since last season, right? Like last year, he still hasn't hit a home run in a Tigers uniform. I think he hit 1 in Toledo on a rehab assignment last year. I'm pretty sure that's true. But he has yet to hit a home run wearing an Old English D. Like it's a complete, I don't even know what to call it. It's I've never seen really anything like it. And that is going to be the huge thing to circle, the huge question mark for Austin Meadows going into the season, rightfully so, is can we get the power back at any point? So we'll see what happens. We'll see. But I do enjoy the fact that he's not like leaving spring training with like a 140 batting average or something. Like, it's in, I think that, like I said, like 250s or whatever, which these days is pretty par for the course. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that situation. Andy Ibanez 0 for 3 in this game. He got off to a nice start early in the spring, kind of before the injury and before the WBC. But since then, he has come back and done honestly next to nothing in the batter's box, and that's really rough timing. Like I feel really bad, but it's almost this like weird thing where if he would have just like stayed hurt, maybe it would have done less for like hurting his stock. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but yeah, unfortunately, he has not hit very well at all since coming back from the injury and from the WBC. And that utility infield spot, we keep talking about it, really up for grabs. And I think he might be playing his way out of it very slowly but surely. And then kind of just a fun tidbit at the end, Andre Lipsius, first base, yet again, got a hit in this one too, but played first base. He's going to get a lot of look at first and third. I think he's going to get a lot of look at the corners in Toledo this year, which kind of excites me. Okay, that's it for the spring training games. Let's get into the biggest stories to watch going into the final weekend of spring training. But first, I got to tell y'all about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. We talked about them earlier. We talk about them pretty much every day. They are the best in the business. The tournament is heating up. If you are a Michigan State fan, I am here for you. That was gut-wrenching. That was like, I'm not a Sparty fan whatsoever. That was heartbreaking. I that's a toughie. That really is a toughie. Hug a Spartan today, because that's, man, what a basketball game though, for real. One of the best college basketball games I've seen in a very long time, and I can say that as an outsider that was certainly not rooting for really either side. So incredible game. And speaking of FanDuel, you can have more stake in these games and have a little bit more fun in these tournament games by throwing down some coinage using FanDuel Sportsbook. You can have a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, it's super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line, point scores, three-pointers drained, etc. Plus, FanDuel lets you combine your bets for the chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss your chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to fanduel.com/lockedon. That's fanduel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay, what is up, everybody? We're back. Third and final segment here, Locked On Tigers. Let's talk about some of these big positional battles, okay? Because there are a lot. I'm going to somewhat loosely base this conversation based off of my roster projections from last Thursday. So what is that, 8 days ago? Because it's very fluid, as I've said that word a million times this spring. I'm very sorry. But this is a ever-changing conversation. And so I kind of want to base it off of the last kind of mass conversation we had about all of the players on the roster. Okay. So we still have a lot of the similar locks, right? Like Miggy, Vierling, Meadows, Green, Torkelson, Maton, Baez, Haas, Rogers, Erod, Boyd, Turnbull, Michael Lorenzen if he's healthy, but that is now a question mark and is going to kind of throw everything for a loop. Alex Lang, Jason Foley, Mason Englert, Jose Cisnero. Boom. Okay. Those are like the close, pretty certain locks. Jose Cisnero maybe has played his way into like the close to locks category, but I'm still relatively sure Jose Cisnero is going to be on this opening day roster. Okay. Jonathan Scope, I also think he's going to be on this opening day roster still, despite the struggles. I think that would be a heck of a message to send to, and I'm not saying it's a bad one or that I'd be like heartbroken or really disagree with it if it happened, but that would take some guts. Okay. That would take some, yeah, to do that. That would be a statement that would be sent. So I still kind of default to he's going to be on the team on opening day. If he's not hitting his weight by like the first or second week of May, then they're going to say, thanks for all you did for the organization. See you later, bud. But for now, I still think he's going to start the roster on the team. Matt Manning, I think in his last 2 starts, while not perfect, he has shown enough to be back in the conversation of, okay, this dude's going to be in our rotation on opening day. Tyler Alexander, similar boat. I still expect him to be on this opening day roster. Akil Badu and Kerry Carpenter, nothing's changed. I don't want to have this conversation 8 billion times with you, right? Like I don't want to just say the same thing every day. Okay. You know what it is, especially if you're an everyday listener. I greatly appreciate you, but you're very aware of all of the ins and outs of that battle. You know that depending on who they pick, you'll know why they picked them. We have really dissected that battle in entirety. Okay, so you're very aware of that one. Reliever. Okay, this bullpen is where it gets a little crazy. First off, we're gonna bring up Michael Lorenzen again. If Michael Lorenzen starts off the season on the IL, Joey Wentz is guaranteed a roster spot. I will tell you that right now. And I'm beyond confident. I'm certain. I'm certain. And if they choose, somebody else, I don't even know who. Like I genuinely I don't think there's another choice. If they do, I'll wear it. I'll own it. That's fine. But if Michael Lorenzen gets put on the IL on Sunday and they're like, oh, well, he's going to miss his first 2 starts, let's just put him on the IL and give Joey Wentz some looks, it's going to be Joey Wentz. Okay. So that changes this conversation a lot. So we can start off with that. Michael Lorenzen hurt enough to be on the IL. Joey Wentz is 100% getting his spot. I can almost promise you. Now, if Michael Lorenzen isn't IL hurt, well, there's so many ins and outs of this. This injury really did kind of throw everything for a loop. So what if like he's not hurt enough where they don't want to put him on the IL, but he is going to miss his first start? Do you put Wentz on the opening day roster anyways? Question mark. Like, Joey Wentz is going to go out there. He's going to start like the 4th game of the season for you. 5th game, whatever you put him of the season for you. And then after that is when, Michael Lorenzen's back. Now we're going to send Joey Wentz down because we want to develop him as a starter. I feel like if they were serious about Joey Wentz has to make this roster no matter what, even if it's as a reliever, we would have seen him as a reliever in the spring. I don't believe that they were just like, oh yeah, he's just going to start every time he makes an appearance in spring training. And then magically when the season starts, we're going to put him in like a 1-inning reliever role. And he's just going to be good. And we're going to expect him to be good with it. I think he'll take any role. I don't mean he'll be good with it as far as a mindset thing. Just that feels weird to me. Like Garrett Hill, we very clearly have seen him be turned into a reliever in front of our eyes. Bo Brisky has started. Still, I think they still want to try him out as a starter, but in spring has very clearly had like you are a reliever in this situation roles. Joey Wentz, it's either been starts or very long, like piggybacking off of an opener type of starts. And I just, that's weird for me for them to just be like, oh yeah, you'll be a reliever now. So if Lorenzen is healthy, even though I think Joey Wentz is probably the 5th or 6th best starting pitcher, depending on who you ask and what day you ask me, in this organization right now, I think that they are going to default to Toledo just so that they can develop him as a starting pitcher. Now, that leaves you with quite a lot of options still in the bullpen. I think Chasen Streve and Trey Wingenter are Detroit Tigers. That's my take. They've had really, really good springs. I don't see that really them playing themselves out of that just over the weekend. I think they're both Chasen Shreve especially, but both of them I think are on this opening day roster. That leaves you with some combination of being able to take really one of Garrett Hill, Bo Brisky, or Joey Wentz on opening day. Will Vest is not on my opening day roster. Ucita's already been sent down. Holton, I don't think is there. Faedo's already been sent down. Miguel Diaz already sent down. Matt Whistler, I don't think has done enough. Trevor Rosenthal, definitely not ready. Miguel Del Pozo already sent down. Angel DeJesus already sent down. Elvis Everado already sent down. I think it's Winginter, it's Whistler, and then it's one of Hill, Brisky, Wentz. And I don't think it's Wentz if Michael Lorenzen is healthy. So I think you're looking at Garrett Hill or Bo Brisky. I still default to Hill a little bit. Part of that is because I do want to see if Bo Brisky can develop more as a pure starting pitcher, and just get more work even as a reliever if they plan on developing him more along those lines, because he doesn't have too much experience as a reliever in the last 2 seasons as a pro at any level. So I think that they probably still default to Garrett Hill there. But Will Vest, while he's not on my opening day roster, is certainly still in that conversation. It's a tough one. And then the last tough conversation is utility infield, right? Cesar Hernandez, Andy Ibanez, Tyler Nevin, Ryan Kreidler, Zach Short. You get 2 probably of those guys. 2. I still really like Cesar Hernandez. He's on my opening day roster. Andy Ibanez has very realistically played his way off of that conversation. Although last Thursday I had him on there. There's very much a reality in which that's not reality anymore for him to be on the opening day roster. Nevin, we just haven't seen. I don't think it's going to be him. Injury stuff and whatnot, unfortunate. So then you're really having a conversation of pick your poison. Andy Ibanez, Ryan Kreidler, Zach Short. Or you only carry Cesar Hernandez and you carry Carpenter and Badu. I don't think they do that. That's not enough versatility in the infield. Kerry Carpenter can play one outfield position and DH. Badu is strictly an outfielder. I don't think they roll into the season with Cesar, or it's not Cesar Hernandez then, because he can really only play second and third. He's not giving you too much of a look at, not that you need a shortstop necessarily, but he's not giving you too much of a look at first. Or maybe you're confident in Torque and you don't care about backup first base or backup shortstop. And you only want someone who can really play second and third. See how many, like, the mental gymnastics I have to go through, and we all have to go through, to try and put together a 26-man roster is absolutely nuts at the moment. Okay? And I mean, you can just go down so many rabbit holes here. Ryan Kreidler, again, we've talked about it, has been getting legitimate looks in the outfield and been hitting a lot better over the last couple of weeks. Maybe you want to roster Carpenter and Badu, and you're going to go Ryan Kreidler because he can play 6 to 7 different positions. Or you only carry one of them because what's the point of carrying 5 outfielders and playing Ryan Kreidler in the outfield if he can play outfield? That's pointless then. You have 5 dudes who can play outfield without him. But Zach Short been getting a look all over the infield and in corner outfield as well. Which, again, because they're playing those dudes in the outfield, that leads me to believe it's one or the other with Badu and Carpenter. But then you can carry an extra reliever. I mean, who's to say they don't roster Kreidler? Lorenzen's injury is like, You're going to roster Joey Wentz. You're going to roster Garrett Hill, Joey Wentz, and then only one utility infielder. And it's going to be Kreidler or Short because they give you the most versatility. And then it's just Badu or Carpenter. See what I'm saying? This is nuts. Absolute mayhem. So on Friday, I would expect some moves. Do I expect all of the moves to be decided by Friday? No. I expect some moves on Friday, whether it's just a couple of like the somewhat fairly obvious decisions or whatever. I feel like within the next day or two for me, you're probably going to hear some moves. And then after Sunday, man, then you're just waiting. Then we're all just anxious and waiting. Those players are sweating. That's a tough time for those players on the bubble. But that is where you stand right now. I don't even know if I gave an actual place. I don't even know. I said that's where you stand. I don't even know if I could point to where we stand on a map right now, but that's where we stand. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. For your second listen, check on the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball also wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Alrighty, I know I was all over the place. I'm so sorry if that meant it was a bad listen, but my brain is just going a million miles an hour with this current roster, and there's so many different possibilities, and I'm so excited to figure out which direction they head. I think the important thing to remember, I've said this a lot, I'll say it again, is that this is not as finite as a lot of people make it out to be. Pretty much all of the dudes that are on the bubble will play in the majors at some point, assuming health. It's just a matter of who's starting off the season on there or not. And it is a big deal because everyone's fully healthy, and it's basically the assumption of on a fully healthy roster, who are you going with? But this is going to be fluid. Sorry to say it again. It really is. Scott Harris is not going to wait around too terribly long. We've already seen a ton of movement at the bottom of this roster, constantly turning over. I don't expect the regular season to be any different. All right, cool. I appreciate you. Excuse me. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for continuing to support the show and myself. We will be back on Monday, recapping an eventful weekend, recapping the end of spring training, and trying to get a better glimpse and a better idea of what Thursday is going to look like. All right. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.